Hello students, let's discuss questions and answers of the lesson. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela himself. Oral comprehension check 1. Where did the ceremonies take place? Can you name any public buildings in India that are made of sandstone? Answer. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. The Parliament House, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and the Supreme Court of India in New Delhi and Madras High Court in Chennai are some examples of Indian buildings that are made of sandstone. Question number 2. Can you say how 10th May is an autumn day in South Africa? 10th May is an autumn day in South Africa because Nelson Mandela saw a fall of white rule and a new era of democratic rule in South Africa. This is the same as in the autumn season. The dry leaves fall on the ground and a new era of green leaves begins. It is a symbolic meaning, or the reason after summer and before winter is autumn. It is in the northern hemisphere from September to November and in the southern hemisphere from March to May. The inauguration took place in the month of May 1994. Thus, 10th May is an autumn day in Africa. It is literal meaning. Question number 3. At the beginning of his speech, Mandela mentions an extraordinary human disaster. What does he mean by this? What is the glorious human achievement he speaks of at the end? Answer. According to Mandela, an extraordinary human disaster means apartheid that South Africa experienced till 1994. Glorious human achievement is their political emancipation and newborn liberty and the inauguration of their democratic and non-racial government. Question number 4. What does Mandela thank the international leaders for? Answer. Mandela thanks the international leaders for having come to take possession with the people of his country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Earlier, many nations had cut their political ties with South Africa because of their practice of apartheid. They wanted to rejoin South Africa politically. Question number 5. What ideals does he set out for the future of South Africa? Answer. The ideals Mandela set out were they pledged themselves to liberate all their people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, and gender and other discrimination. Their beautiful land of South Africa would never again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. They wished that freedom would reign and God would bless Africa. Comprehension check 2. Question number 1. What do the military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? Answer. The highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police saluted Mandela. Then their chests were bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by. Thus they pledged their loyalty to the newborn country. Not so many years before, they would not have saluted Mandela but arrested him. But now they have saluted him. Their attitude changed because before 10th May 1994, they were under the supremacy of the white people. Mandela was a freedom fighter and considered as a criminal, but now he is the president of Africa. Question number 2. Why were two national anthems sung? The day was symbolized for Mandela by playing of their two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sikelel Africa and blacks singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. Two anthems were sung because both white and black people were living there and it meant that they were equal. It could mean that the rights of both the races are respected. It symbolizes equality and respect for the entire community irrespective of their color. Question number 3. How does Mandela describe the systems of government in his country? First, in the first decade, second, and in the final decade of the 20th century. Once again, I would like to read the question. How does Mandela describe the systems of government in his country? In the first decade and in the second decade of the 20th century. Answer. In the first decade of 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before Mandela's own birth, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest and most inhuman societies the world has ever known. In the last decade of the 20th century and Mandela's own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. Question number 4. What does courage mean to Mandela? Answer. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the trump over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Question number 5. Which does he think is natural? To love or to hate? Answer. Both of them are natural, but to love is more natural. Comprehension check 3. Question number 1. What twin obligations does Mandela mention? Answer. Mandela says that in life every man has two obligations. One, obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. Two, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, to his country. Question number two, what did being free man, what did being free, what did being free mean to Mandela as a boy and as a student? How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedoms? Answer. To Mandela, being free as a boy is free to run in the fields near his mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through his village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As a student, Mandela wanted freedom only for himself, the transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what he pleased, and go where he chose. As a young man in Johannesburg, Mandela yearned for the basic and the honorable freedom of achieving his potential, of earning his keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Regarding the transient free, Mandela was not born with a hunger to be free. He was born free. As long as he obeyed his father, abided by the customs of his tribe, he was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when he began to learn that his boyhood freedom was an illusion, when he discovered as a young man that his freedom had already been taken from him, that he began to hunger for it. Thus, Mandela contrasts transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedoms. Question number 3. Mandela thinks that the oppressor is not free. According to him, a man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. A man is not truly free if he is taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as he is not free when his freedom is taken from him. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Thinking about the text, question number 1. Why did such a large number of international leaders attend the inauguration? What did it signify the trump of? A large number of international dignitaries and leaders attended the inauguration to pay their respects before the inauguration. They attended to celebrate the end of the apartheid system and to show their support to South Africa. They made Pretoria the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. It signifies the trump of justice, peace. It signifies the trump of justice, peace, and human dignity over prejudice, fear, apartheid. Question number 2. What does Mandela mean when he says he is simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before him? Mandela means that thousands of his people, patriots, sacrificed unimaginably, and their sacrifice can never be counted or repaid. Besides, he gathered his courage from those brave people. So, his noble responsibility was to make their dream true. Thus, he referred to himself as simply the sum of all those African patriots. Question number 3. Would you agree that the depths of oppression create heights of character? How does Mandela illustrate this? Can you add your own examples to this argument? Answer. I would rather agree it. The policy of apartheid created deep and lasting wound in Africa and in its people. They had to spend many years recovering from that profound hurt. But decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect. The effect produced the Oliver Tambo's, the Walter Sissolas, the Chief Lutulis, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobuquis of that time. All of them were men of extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity. Mandela thinks perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. I can add the example of India. During freedom fighting, some patriots sacrificed their lives, but at the same time, other freedom fighters became more intensive. In 1942, Quit India movement failed, but in 1947, India finally got independence. Question number 5. How did Mandela's hunger for freedom change his life? Mandela joined the African National Congress. The hunger for his own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of his people. That hunger animated his life. A frightened young man changed into a bold one. A law-abiding attorney became a criminal. A family-loving husband changed into a man without a home. A life-loving man changed into live like a monk. Thus, hunger for freedom changed Mandela's life. Thank you for watching. Thank you.